I'd like to point out something very disturbing about this video I made called Preppers Die First, Police Going After Preppers When Stuff Hits the Fan. Well, somebody pointed out that the guy has a flippin' Freemason ring. So I start looking around, and sure enough he does. It's 17:27, 17 minutes, 27 seconds into it. We can see an obvious Freemason ring. So this guy is like a phony baloney, or he's given a script, or he's being paid something, okay? Now I would like to point out, I do not subscribe to this guy. I don't like this guy. I just believe some of the things he says is actually going to happen. I made a video where I talk about him, and it's up to like 163,000 views. So if this guy is an obvious Freemason, and he's telling you that police and law enforcement is going after the preppers on day one and all this, well, maybe it's a lie. Or maybe some law enforcement really is going after high-profile preppers. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's a guy named Lindsey Williams. I'm sure you've heard of this guy. He's been on Alex Jones and the Prophecy Club. And he's always wrong. It's always some kind of deception, you know. The dollar's going to collapse in 2012, and then the dollar's going to collapse in 2013, and oh, this bad thing's going to happen in 2014 and 16, and it's just all lies and deception. But one statement that he made is absolutely true. He said the power elite believe it's ungentlemanlike to not warn the public before they create some calamity or disaster. And they do this through TV shows and Hollywood movies and The Simpsons cartoons. So he's right about one thing. Everything else, this guy's just probably a Freemason, phony baloney, lying deceiver. I made another video about the 400-year cycle of America. That's why I'm really concerned about the year 2020, because the 400-year grace period is over. And here's a guy named Shane Warren, who I don't like the guy. He's most likely a Freemason, phony baloney. I mean, look at this strange hand sign, and let's compare. I don't know if it's as above, so below, but I do find that hand sign somewhat suspicious. So he's probably a Freemason going on television to promote some kind of script or message that he is given, which is most likely what this phony baloney is doing also. So I don't like this guy, and maybe 75% of what he's saying is lies and deception, but you know, somewhere in there, there is little bits of truth that are actually going to happen. But I would like to thank this guy for pointing out that that guy is obviously a Freemason, which means that a lot of what he is saying cannot be true. So, and I would like to point out, for all the genuine truth seekers out there, you have to be very careful, because these Freemason phony balonies could be in all shapes and sizes, and you would never even know it. But just remember, when they blatantly ignore that the Jesuits of Rome are obviously the kingpin of the pyramid, they just ignore that, blame the phony baloney Jews in the land of Israel, and they ignore that the true biblical Israelites were obviously black people. We have evidence. And they ignore that nuclear weapons are fake, and we can prove it. The reason why they ignore nuclear weapons is because they're supposed to go along with the script that North Korea is going to be a big threat someday to America. They could fire nuclear weapons above America 100 miles and cause an EMP and mess up our whole country. All the power elite has to do is just flip a switch, and they can shut off the grid at any time. I mean, really. So there's certain things that these phony baloney truth channels, they won't ever talk about. They'll just pretend like it doesn't exist, you know. So there are ways to call out or point out who is genuine and who is not.